There's a man walking down a quiet street. If you were to ask him about his friends, he'd probably smile, that soft, knowing kind of smile, and say, I don't really have any. Not because he's strange, not because he's unkind, but because he's seen through one of life's greatest illusions, one of the oldest jokes existence plays on us. He's discovered something most of us never notice, that the very need for friends, this desperate longing to be liked, to be surrounded, to be understood, is built on a misunderstanding. It's like a wave thinking it's separate from the ocean, like it needs other waves to feel complete, when it is the ocean all along. That truth is terrifying for most people, because if what he's realized is true, then all the loneliness we feel, all our anxiety about being accepted, remembered, or loved comes from a simple illusion, the illusion of being separate. And yet, this man, the one walking alone, has seen the joke for what it is. He's realized there were never any separate islands at all, only the ocean pretending to be divided. Let me tell you something strange. The harder you try to make friends, the more they seem to slip away. It's like chasing your own shadow. The more you run toward it, the further it dances away. But the moment you stop chasing, something changes. When you stop needing friendship, you begin to see it, not as something to gain, but something that's been here all along. Because friendship was never something to be earned. It was something to be recognized. Think about it. When you search for a friend, what are you really looking for? Someone who understands you, someone who shares your experiences, someone who laughs at life's madness with you. But who is this you that needs to be understood? Who is the one having these experiences? The more you look for that person, the more you realize the seeker and the sought were never two different things. We've forgotten something. Something ancient, something obvious. We suffer from what I like to call cosmic amnesia. We've forgotten that we're not separate individuals bumping into each other in a cold, indifferent universe. We are expressions of the same fundamental reality, like waves on the same ocean, like branches growing from the same tree. The wave that believes it needs other waves to feel complete has simply forgotten that it's already water. The branch that worries about connecting with other branches has forgotten that it's already part of the tree, and that's why the man who walks alone is not lonely. He's remembered what he truly is, not a small, isolated ego, desperate for validation and company, but the vast awareness within which all experiences appear. He's seen that the question, who am I, and who are you, have the same answer. And when you really see that, the whole problem of loneliness and of friendship dissolves like morning, mist under the sun. Now don't get me wrong. This man isn't avoiding people, he isn't hiding from the world or rejecting companionship. He simply doesn't cling to it, he doesn't need it to feel whole. He can sit with others, laugh with them, love them, but not because he's trying to fill a hole inside himself. It's like the difference between a man dying of thirst and someone simply enjoying a cool drink on a warm day. The thirsty man gulps desperately, terrified the water will run out. He drinks but never tastes. The other man? He sips slowly, calmly, grateful, but never afraid, because he knows the water doesn't define his life. He was whole long before he drank. That's the truth most of us forget. We approach friendship the way a dying man approaches water. We gulp down attention, approval, and affection, terrified we won't get enough. We keep score. We measure our worth by who calls us, who texts us, who remembers our birthday. We compare how many people love us to how many people love them. And yet, the man who walks alone has discovered a secret. He isn't thirsty, he never was. The idea that he needed something, someone, to complete him was just a dream. And the moment he stopped chasing, stopped clinging, stopped believing that he was broken, something miraculous happened. He became magnetic, because people are drawn to those who don't need them. They're drawn to those who radiate completeness, not hunger, freedom, not fear. The man who walks alone doesn't crave attention. He doesn't beg for connection. And because of that, connection flows to him naturally. He doesn't try to be attractive. He simply is. He stopped pretending to be incomplete. He stopped playing the exhausting game of I'll be whole when someone else arrives. And in that stillness, he discovered his true nature, something that was never separate from anything at all. You know, we have this strange idea that consciousness, awareness, belongs to us individually, that it's something personal, something that lives behind our eyes inside our minds, like a secret room only we can access. We say things like, my awareness, my mind, my thoughts, as if awareness were a possession, like a phone, or a wallet, or a name we carry around. But what if that's not true? What if consciousness isn't yours or mine at all? What if it's more like space? Space doesn't belong to the objects inside it. The air in this room isn't different from the air outside. It only seems divided by walls, by windows, by boundaries that exist on the surface. But not in truth. Consciousness is the same. The awareness you call you and the awareness someone else calls theirs, they're not two different things. They're the same awareness, appearing to be divided by bodies, by personalities, by names. But those separations, they're illusions, like waves thinking they're separate oceans, when they've always been one body of water. The man who walks alone has seen through this illusion. He's realized that the same consciousness looking out through his eyes is the same one. Looking out through yours, we're not separate. Beings having similar experiences, we are the same. Being that having the experience of apparent separation, that's why he doesn't feel lonely. Because how could you be lonely? When you are everyone, how could you crave companionship when every person you meet is just another reflection of yourself? It's like an actor standing alone on a stage, playing every character in the play, forgetting for a moment that it's all him. He complains he has no one to talk to, not realizing he is everyone he's trying to reach. That's the cosmic joke. We think we're disconnected, but we're all just one consciousness wearing 1,000 masks, pretending not to recognize itself. But let's be real for a second. You might say, that's all very poetic, but I still feel alone. I still want someone to understand me, to be there, to care. And of course you do, you're human. Those feelings are natural. They're not wrong. They're just misunderstood. The question isn't whether you feel loneliness. It's how you relate to it. Do you believe it defines you? Do you let it decide your worth? Do you chase people to silence it? Or do you have the courage to simply look at it? The man who walks alone has learned to do exactly that. He doesn't run from loneliness. He doesn't drown it in noise or fill it with distractions. He just watches it. He watches his loneliness rise and fall like waves on the ocean's surface, knowing that beneath it, the water is always still. And when you watch something deeply enough, something shifts. The feeling loses its power over you. Loneliness becomes just another cloud passing across the sky of your awareness. That's the real freedom. Not escaping your emotions, but no longer being ruled by them. This isn't numbness, it's not detachment, it's clarity. The man who walks alone can feel lonely. Without being lonely, he can long for connection. Without being enslaved by that longing. And paradoxically, that's what makes him more capable of love. Not less, because now when he meets people, he meets them as they are, not as props in the story of his loneliness. He doesn't project his emptiness onto them. He doesn't need them to make him feel whole. He can love without holding, enjoy without clinging, connect without losing himself. Most of what we call friendship, let's be honest, is just two people trying to fill the same emptiness. Two incomplete souls trading comfort, hoping the other will finally make them feel enough. But you can't fill an empty cup with another empty cup. The man who walks alone has discovered something profound. He was never empty in the first place. He is the fullness itself, and from that fullness, real connection becomes possible. Think about the sun. It doesn't go around begging for light from other stars. It shines because shining is its nature, and because it shines, everything around it begins to glow. That's how he moves. Through life, he doesn't chase love. He radiates it. He doesn't beg for connection. He is connection. People are drawn to him, not because he's trying to be liked, but because he's free. Because his presence whispers something everyone secretly longs to hear. You are already whole. And that's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop needing love, friendship, validation, You begin to attract it effortlessly, not because you're performing, but because you've stopped pretending to be incomplete. He's discovered something most of us spend lifetimes searching for, that the very awareness shining through him is the same light shining through us all. He has remembered who he really is, not a lonely wanderer in an indifferent world, but consciousness itself, walking through its own dream. And when you see that and really see it, everything changes. But here's where it gets interesting. The more complete he becomes, the more he realizes something profound. His completeness was never personal. It's not that he, as an individual, became whole. It's that he finally recognized the wholeness that was always there, the truth that had been quietly waiting beneath all his striving, all his searching. He saw that what he truly is was never broken, and what was never broken never needed to be fixed. That realization, it changes everything. Because when you stop believing that you're a separate self, when you stop thinking you're one small consciousness trying to connect with other isolated souls, you begin to see the world differently. Every meeting becomes a reunion. Every conversation becomes an echo, the universe talking to itself. Every relationship becomes a dance between different faces of the same being. The man who walks alone hasn't rejected relationship. He's discovered what relationship really means, not two halves trying to become one, but one wholeness playing at being two. Not loneliness seeking company, but wholeness recognizing itself in another form. And that's why he can walk alone and never feel alone, why he can have no friends, and yet be everyone's friend, why he can seek no company, yet never be apart from anyone. He has solved the riddle of human connection by realizing there was never a riddle at all. There was only one consciousness, and pretending to be many and searching for itself in all the wrong places. And yet, you might still wonder, how do I become like that man? How do I reach that peace, that freedom? But here's the beautiful joke of existence. You don't become him, you already are him. The one who walks alone is not a goal to reach, he's a truth to remember. You've always been this awareness, whole, silent, untouched by the drama of your mind. You just forgot. You started believing the story, that you were a separate person, in need of fixing, in need of others to complete you. But what if that story was never true? What if it was just a role, a character you've been playing on the stage of consciousness? You're not the actor who needs friends to feel real. You're the director, the writer, the stage itself, the awareness in which all these characters come and go. You don't need to learn anything new to realize this. You just need to stop pretending. Stop pretending that you're small. Stop pretending that you're incomplete. Stop pretending that you need saving, because the one who's been pretending was never real to begin with. It's like an actor who's been lost in his role, so deeply immersed that he's forgotten it's all a performance. He doesn't need to become himself again. He just needs to remember that he was acting. That's what happened to the man who walks alone. He remembered, he saw through the grand illusion, the cosmic game of hide and seek that consciousness plays with itself. He looked into the eyes of strangers and realized there are no strangers, only the same awareness, the same infinite silence, wearing different faces. How can space feel isolated? How can the sky feel divided by the clouds passing through it? It can't, and neither can you. You can't be separate from life, one, because you are life. You can't be apart from awareness, one, because you are awareness. And once you see that, once you really feel it, the walls you've built around yourself begin to crumble. You stop asking the world to fill you and start overflowing into it. You stop begging for love and start being love. And slowly, quietly, life begins to open up again, not as something you must chase, but as something you've always been. The man who walks alone isn't special. He's not enlightened. In some unreachable way, he's just someone who stopped believing a story that was never true. He's the reminder of what you've always been, the sky, not the storm, the awareness, not the thought, the ocean, not the wave. He's the reflection of that truth within you, the one who's been there all along waiting for you to notice. The man who walks alone isn't someone distant or unreachable or mysterious. He's you. He's the part of you that's always been there, quietly watching, silently waiting, beyond every thought you've ever believed. You see, the awareness reading these words right now the stillness behind your eyes, the silence beneath your thoughts. That's him. That's the same presence that has been with you in every moment of your life. It doesn't come or go. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't crave company. It simply is, and everything else. Your desires, your fears, your need for connection, all of it passes through this awareness, like clouds drifting across the sky. So some clouds are bright, some are dark, but none of them ever touch the sky itself. You are that sky, vast, open, untouched, and when you remember this, when you stop confusing yourself with the clouds, when you stop believing every passing emotion is who you are, something incredible happens. The loneliness doesn't disappear, but it loses its teeth. The need for validation quiets down. The endless chasing stops. You realize that nothing was ever missing. You were never broken. You were never incomplete. You were simply lost in a dream that said, I need others to be whole. But the moment you wake up from that dream, you see what was true all along. You are already connected to everything. You are not a fragment searching for its other half. You are the whole, playing at being a fragment. And in that recognition, something inside you softens. You stop trying so hard to be seen. You stop grasping for attention. You stop building your identity around how others respond to you. Instead, you begin to live effortlessly. You laugh more easily. You love more deeply. You walk more freely. Because now, every person you meet, every glance, every word, feels like a meeting with yourself. You see yourself in the eyes of strangers. You recognize your own heartbeat in the rhythm of the world. That's the secret of the man who walks alone. He walks through life not as a separate individual, but as life itself, moving through its own infinite forms. Every step he takes, every breath he draws, every face he meets, is a reflection of the same consciousness. He doesn't crave friendship because he has realized something greater. He is friendship itself. The very capacity for connection that makes love, understanding, and compassion possible. He doesn't need the world to validate him because he has become the space in which the world exists. He walks through the noise of life in silence, not as someone escaping, but as someone finally home. And that's the beauty of it. The moment you stop fighting to be whole, you realize you always were. You don't need to find connection. You are connection. You don't need to chase love. You are the space that allows love to exist. And when you live from that truth, your life begins to change quietly, almost invisibly. The chaos doesn't vanish, but it no longer owns you. The loneliness doesn't control you. It becomes just another ripple on the surface of an infinite sea. You start to see that the one who walks alone was never lonely. He was just awake. Awake to the great dance of existence. Awake to the realization that the ocean can never be separate from its waves. That consciousness can never be apart from itself, and maybe, just maybe, as you listen to these words, a part of you feels it too. That quiet remembering. That moment when the illusion of separation begins to fade, and what remains is peace. Not the peace that comes from having everything you want, but the peace that comes from realizing you already are everything. That's the secret. That's the truth. That's the freedom of the man who walks. Alone, he has discovered that he is not alone. Because he is everyone, he needs no friends because he is the friendship itself. He has stopped seeking connection because he is the connection. And in that realization, he finds not isolation, but the deepest intimacy with life itself. So when the world grows quiet, when the loneliness returns, when you feel like you're walking alone, remember this. You are not the cloud passing through the sky. You are the sky itself, vast, eternal, untouched. And in that sky, there is no loneliness, only presence, only peace, only you. As everything,